There we
Oh,
are.
there we are. I believe we are live. Ladies and gentlemen of the Irish Rugby Banter, the Ruck This, and on YouTube, the Mauls, Balls and All channel. If you are indeed watching on YouTube, as we say, you can hit the subscribe and the like button. It doesn't cost anything. It just helps the algorithm for us to show up when if people search for rugby stuff. Joining me this evening are two of the well-known faces, colleagues, two of the people behind the scenes who work with us for Irish Rugby Banter. And believe it or not, we hit a milestone today in the group with 14,000 members now in the group, all great fans. There's great chats, there's disagreements, there's agreements, there's opinions and everything. But it's all welcome. But, sometimes it gets a bit nasty, but we deal with it. So it's always a good and safe place for people to talk about rugby. And so those people are Peter Martin, and we have Dara Weston with me joining us this evening. We are extremely happy to have him with us. He is no stranger to Leinster rugby supporters in particular, and also Ireland rugby supporters in particular. He started his career in 2009. His first game was against Canada. They won that 25-6. And he went on and he played 61 times for Ireland. His final cap was 2016 against South Africa. Unfortunately, a 6-point loss, and that was 1913. He also played in that blood pressure raising final of 2011, which Leinster fans will never forget. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one and only Mike Ross. Mike, how are you? And you're very welcome.
Thanks, Peter. Very good to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Good,
so
and
nice to come on and chat to you.
Great to have you here. Now, listen, Mike. When people found out you were coming on the show, the one question I was asked: will you ask Mike what the hell was said at halftime in the dressing room on the 2011 Heineken Cup final? It was a 22-6. Leinster were behind. I was up the walls. I was screaming at the TV, screaming at the dog. What was said at halftime to turn that around? The great comeback.
Well, everyone goes on about Johnny Sexton giving his famous speech, but to be honest, I wasn't listening to it because myself in the front row were in the corner with Greg Feek on the laptop, looking at the scrums, trying to figure out what the hell had gone wrong. So look, I just remember the main message from Joe Smith: just hold on to the ball, hold on to the ball. You haven't held on to the ball, boys. Just hold on to the ball. And I think I guess in the second half, that's what we went out and held onto the ball and kept the pressure on, and Sexton had probably had his one of his greatest ever performances, and we got over the line eventually.
Yeah, you're very calm about that, but Jesus Christ, Mike, the fans were up the bloody walls watching that.
Yeah, listen, at halftime, I was up the bloody walls, so I just been tossed around like a bloody log in a hurricane. So I was kind of like, what the hell, I mean. I've dreamed about this, and I've been getting drilled by the front row. And to be fair, the Northampton front row have been drilling all comers during that season. They had Tongawiya and Hartley and Brian Bajati, and Tongawiya was like a big man, and they had a very good scrummaging technique where they used Dylan Hartley as kind of tip of the spear, and then the two lads come in behind him. So that was always hard to deal with. But we noticed that we're kind of going after them as individuals. Because we were worried about them, and we and so sometimes there's a tendency that you go off and you do your own thing, and you forget about what actually made you good in the first place. My focus, I have to win the hit, and I have to get in there ahead of them, and get in through them. And I was just getting isolated then, and then I was getting picked up by Hartley and Tongawiya, and it was a good game. So second half just stuck a bit closer to Rickard Strauss, and just worked more as a unit, a bit more patient, and it worked out in the end.
Yeah, it certainly did. And that team, I mean, for any, I suppose, because obviously it was a Leinster team, but if you look at that team, I mean, you played with some of the greats of Leinster rugby. I mean, Cullen, Bod, Sexton, Nasewa, Sean O'Brien, Darcy, Keane Healy, of course. I mean, do you still keep in touch with the guys, or
just go down?
Yeah, a few. I mean, like when you finish up, you kind of get ejected out of the WhatsApp group, and you're kind of out of that bubble. But yeah, but I'm still in. Like I still see Cian Healy quite a bit. We still remain to Jack McGrath. There's a few of us get together every Christmas and go out for dinner.
Very good.
Yeah. So it's nice, I mean,
yeah,
the friendships you make playing rugby are unbelievable, and when you get back together, it's like you never kind of left. So it's been really good, and I've good mates with Tyke Furlong too, and I got to know James Lowe actually. He's good fun. He's good fun.
Yeah. I met him briefly down in the Thai RFC at a Leinster Open training camp. He seems like good fun, all right. Okay, Peter Martin, any memories yourself from the 2011 Heineken Cup final, the great comeback? Just
other than it was one of the greatest comebacks, given the circumstances, given the everything about that particular game, that's really it. And like the question I was going to ask Mike was, what did Greg Feek kind of say to you? But you've kind of pretty much said it, that it's the small things really. You work more as a unit. It was an inch down and getting a little bit lower. Just get small little things. There's no magic potion really, I suppose, or no magic trick. It's just it's technique, and stuff like that is kind of. It's probably stuff that's not very obvious to the naked eye, but obviously you're at the coalface. You appreciate what you need to be done, and it is the small 1%. Like trying to get the hit in early and getting that bit tighter to your man and beside you in the scrum. It is all those small things that make the difference.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Darragh Weston, any thoughts on the 2011 before we start going on to what we're supposed to be talking about?
Jesus, it was amazing. But I'm delighted to hear Mike reinforce what I already knew as an ex-forward myself, that while the backs were gelling their hair and shouting and chatting,
come on now, that's not fair. I was a back
looking at a laptop, analysing what they needed to do, because that's where the brains is in the team.
All right, okay. Before we go on to the actual things we're supposed to be talking about, Luke, just people watching. Luke Conway, hi Luke, how are you? Alan Dorman, hi Alan. Bevan Marie Burke, well done guys. Hello Bevan. Gregor Galway, evening all. So excited to see Mike on. There you are, Mike. There's a fan for you, and it's a pleasure to have you on, Mike. Danny Brosnan, one of our other colleagues who helps run the group. Danny also does a show on Monday reviewing all the previous weekend's games. Danny Brosnan,
he's known also, Mike, as the Dalai Farmer.
The Dalai Farmer, that is Danny Brosnan down in Kerry. Some great players
down there.
There you go. Okay, briefly, Mike, I'm going to ask you first since you're our guest. I know you mentioned to me over the message that the number 10 position wasn't your strong point, but really, we're talking about Jack and Sam, which still seems to be raising its head and the subject matter in the groups and across the media sphere, what people are talking about and arguing about, that they should or they shouldn't have a central contract. Mike, your understanding of the whole process of a player getting a central contract. Now, one of the things was that, Joe McCarthy got a central contract and he hasn't had as many caps as Jack and all this sort of stuff. What's your understanding of how a player gets awarded a central contract?
Look, I think the whole thing with central contracts, I mean, back in the day, there was probably about 23, 25 of them, right? And then, I think the financial crash happened and they got whittled down to, I think it's below 15 now, right? Usually a central contract means you're nailed on starter.
Yeah.
Right? Usually, okay? Now, the player doesn't really care if they're getting a central contract or not, right? It's because, the money is what they care about. If I'm trying to remember, I think I had central contract for about 2 years. But ironically enough, I actually made the most money when I went back to a provincial contract, because then I had a lot of, incentives in the contract, for starts and wins and things like that, because you're not expected to. So the base would be a bit lower, but the incentives would be higher, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, if you can do quite well. So. With Joe McCarthy, I mean, I think he's the type of player we don't produce a lot of. We do not. He's that big, heavy, dynamic, tight-head lock, and we don't produce a lot of them, to be honest, right? I mean, I'm trying to remember the last one we produced. Maybe Donegal O'Callaghan was that kind of player,
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
But I don't know if you've ever seen him in the flat. Like his legs are like tree trunks, right? And he can move. So there's probably and like Leinster always playing James Ryan to the team. So those two guys will always be there or thereabouts on the 15 or 23.
Yeah.
Plus, there was, if you look back to the autumn, they both started in the second round, and I think they're probably the best scrummaging combination we have. And if you play Ty Byrne at 6 now, Pete retiring, who are we going to see at 6? Are we going to put Ty Byrne there because we all know he's great around the pitch and he's a great poacher and a jackler, but is that his most effective position? Don't know.
Jack Conan, Mike. Jack Conan at 6.
Yeah, could be that too. So it just depends. I mean, what how you want to balance your pack, because we don't really tend to pick packs for scrummaging. We pick packs based on what they can do around the park. So if you're picking your heaviest possible pack, you'd have James Ryan and Joe McCarthy in it.
Right. Okay. Dara, I know we touched on this. Thanks, Mike, by the way. Dara, I know we touched on this last week.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why Jack Crowley and Sam Prendergast shouldn't have a central contract, or should they have a central contract now?
Okay, a large part of this is down to the fact that the RFU have 3 10s on central contracts. But you've got to remember, the RFU only introduced central contracts at the end of 2024. When they sold the naming rights for Twickenham, they got loads of money. Before that, the players were all on pay-per-play. So, like, Sam and Jack are still getting paid when they play for Ireland, as well as their provincial contracts. I would assume, anyway, that. But, like, Josh van der Fleer, okay, I do think we need to reassess the number. As Mike said, there was 20-something. Now it's gone down to 14. So maybe now the IRFU are in a bit better of a financial position again. Maybe they do need to reassess, at least have a full 15, if not more, central contracts. But like Josh van der Fleer won World Player of the Year before he got a central contract. It's kind of, look, I suppose Sexton had been on a central contract for so long at 10 that then it was kind of, well, who are we going to replace? Who's the future going to be? And maybe it was left a bit. But I think there's 2 factors in this. There's the whole furore about it is because people say, well, England had 3 10s on central contracts, and because supposedly Leicester are after Crowley, which I believe as much as the Miami Dolphins were after Rog. I think he's got a brilliant agent and worth every penny. So, look, we can't afford to hand out central contracts to everybody. Otherwise, we'll end up in, we just end up bankrupt like the Premiership clubs. So,
the money all comes from the same place anyway. Yeah. Right. The central contracting only means it's not on the Leinster or Munster or Connacht's budget. Right? Yeah. So and generally a central contract you'll have a higher base salary, but like I said, that doesn't mean that if you're not in a central contract you can't earn just as much as someone who is on a central contract, because you're more likely to have incentives for playing for the national team. And to be honest, I mean, it's probably a bit too early to put either of the 2 lads on a central. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. I've been saying that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So when one of them, nails down the spot and is on top, then you can start looking at it. But, until then, like Sam just re-signed, Crowley's probably going to re-sign. So I'm sure that they'll be doing quite well out of it. So I don't think
people. Sorry, Mike. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. There was people in our group screaming from the high heavens that what the hell are the IRFU doing? Put these 2 guys on a central contract ASAP, blaming the IRFU that their heads are up their arses, so to speak. They don't know what they're doing. Well, of course, the IRFU know what they're doing. These are couch pundits, and we're all just shouting at it that they should be given central contracts. But it's not that simple though, Mike, as you're alluding to there.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's your total contract value? What are you going to make? That's basically what all the player cares about. Whose headings on the top of the contract. I mean, it's nice. It's nice vote of confidence to a central contract, but
yeah,
if you're getting a strong provincial contract, then it doesn't really matter that much. And like I said, it can work out better because say both of those boys will back themselves. There'll probably be nice incentives in there for starting for Ireland or being in the squad. And if they start X number of games, they'll get a bonus. If they there'll be win bonuses. And like I said, my best years came when I was not on a central contract.
I will certainly note that, Mike, and I will tell the detractors in the future. Listen to what Mike Ross has said. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Sarah, and thanks, Pete. Catherine Keegan, evening, gents. Hi, Catherine. How are you? Joe Lyons, evening, folks. Brian Core. My understanding of a central contract is there is no other available player with the same skill level that the head coach favours. I don't know, Mike. Brian Core.
I don't know. I mean, I think my first criteria is nailed on starter if fit and in form. Tends to be it, and and if you look at players with central contracts, they tend to fit the bill.
Yeah, true. I would totally agree with you, Mike. Yeah, Mike Sheedy, a good Munster man, should be signed contract for both players, Jack and Sam. We need both players before they go to other teams. Six Nations 2026 World Cup's coming. You see, I think that, look, Mike, I know the point. You've said this before in the group. I think that is fear mongering at its best. To be honest with you. So I know what you're saying, Mike, but I don't particularly agree with it.
I can't see why either of them would go outside of Ireland. As I say, it's an unwritten rule because obviously it was flexible for Johnny Sexton when he went to France, but we needed him because we had no other basic 10 really. But there's nothing to stop the IRFU saying, well, actually, no, you're not eligible anymore because you're playing abroad. So for lads who are just starting on their international career, why would they move abroad when they can earn just as much money playing for an Irish province?
Yeah, exactly what Mike said.
Yeah,
but to be fair, look, the biggest, if you want to make money, the biggest money is either in France or Japan. Okay, and you can tell that by just look how many South Africans and Kiwis are playing in those leagues. Okay, so I mean the advantage you have in Ireland, you're not paid as much. You're paid pretty well. Okay. And you're managed much better. I mean, remember when Sexton was playing for Racing and he had to go back and play, during that down week in Six Nations, like you would get an extended career. Plus, you have the Charlie McCreevy money, as I call it, or the tax rebate, right, which is worth about 16k per 100k you earn. But your best 10 years at the end of your career, which can be a nice little nest egg, especially when you're coming out of rugby and you know nothing about anything else except rugby. So it can help, cushion the blow because suddenly you'll go from earning that to earning that. So you need something to fill the gap. So that is an advantage to that as well. Although,
sorry, go on, Mike.
Although if I was playing now, I'd definitely try and finish my career up in France because you get lower tax rate for the last 2 years, and French have this amazing unemployment system, chômage, where you get paid, I think 60% of your salary or $5,000, whichever is less. And of course, if you're on this in rugby wages, $5,000 is less for up to 2 years. So you could go over to France, finish your career, take the chômage for 2 years, and upskill yourself, go back to college or whatever. I think you have to stay in France, but if you're down Biarritz or something, it's not the worst place in the world to be.
Yeah, true. So the Charlie McCreevy money, you got $16,000 for every $100,000 you made. So you're on about what, $48,000 there?
No, that for the best 10 years. For the best 10 years. So, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, Mike. The other thing is,
Cian Healy a lot of knives when he retires.
Can't hit you on his knives, yeah.
The other thing as well. Sorry, Mike. The other thing as well is we were saying last week. Somebody had asked a question about who basically what positions get paid more, and I think in top 14 that the tight head props get paid the most in France.
I don't think they do. I think actually the biggest pay, I think it goes out half. Maybe I remember there was but then tight head lock, right? So tight head
Oh
second
yeah.
row,
All
because
right. Okay.
they're worth the weight in gold over there. Because if you would go think of Miafu, Skelton, who else? Williams, all those big lads, and they'll make the scrum go forward, just as much almost as a tight head does. So,
Yeah.
but
Very true.
they're rare as tendencies. How many guys are over 6'6" and 130 kilos that can actually play for the guts of 60, 70 minutes?
Rare. That's a
Yeah.
rarity. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on. Okay. I see a comment there from Joe Lyons. Are we looking at central contracts the wrong way? Should they be structured differently? Is having X number of players on a central contract the wrong format, or are we using an outdated structure that was fine when initially set up? Look, Joe, I trust in whatever the IRFU are doing. I think that they are working on the inside. We are not. We're outside, certainly outside looking in. What us fans are anyway.
Yeah.
And Bev Ambury, Burke. Sorry, go on, Mike.
I think most of the furor about the central contracts is because Leinster's dominating them.
Yeah.
Right. And they're dominating because they're producing the players. Because the IRFU doesn't care. If Connacht produced 15 central contract worthy players, then they'd be getting them. Right. So the IRFU only cares where the players are coming from. I mean, you hear a lot of Leinster bias and the rest of it. But
Yes.
people forget that the IRFU is made of people from every province. And if you look at the professional committee that they have, it's equally distributed between all four provinces. So, like if Connacht and Munster are playing, like Munster used to dominate back in the day, it's just a reflection of where the players are being produced at the moment. So
yeah. I tell you, Mike, it's a great way to run a group, because in our group we have probably a slightly Leinster dominant running thing, but we also have Connacht, we have Munster, and we have a couple of Ulster as well. So we can never be accused of bias. But I like that point, Mike, that you made.
Bev Ambury, the Leinster means there's not one of us from D4.
We're not one of us from D4, no absolutely not. No. Bev Ambury, Burke. Okay, we lead the central contract here after this one. Bev Ambury says, I think neither needs a central contract. They will both be in their squad no matter what. One in the 15, one on the bench. They are still young and aren't fully developed yet. They are still learning the ropes of international rugby side. Okay. Right, done and dusted. Now, Peter Martin, you have a question that you want to ask Mike Ross about props. Go ahead.
Yeah, very simply put, Mike, and I suppose it's something that, given the fact that we've had, I suppose, a bit of a kind of a concern with the lack of quality props, in the country over the last number of years. And obviously things are probably starting to change. We're hopeful, a bit more hopeful with what's the talent coming through at under 20s and so on. But would you be of the opinion that props are born rather than made? And when I say made, you've got guys who could be rocking up to, clubs, and they could be basically, we'll say, if there's 6 back rows there and 3 of them are particularly good and the other 3 aren't going to go anywhere, like that. And I know this from my own club, Boyne. We had a player who played representative rugby with Leinster underage as a number 8. He went to an AIL club. He started turning out a tight head prop. That all finished up. He got injured a couple, various different things didn't work out for him, and he's now back with our club playing as number 8. Do you feel that is it possible to get these guys who are probably a bit more athletic, the athletic prop, the athletic kind of the guy who can get around the pitch, can put in maybe 15, 20 tackles a game and has particularly good handling skills because of their back row? That's where they started off, and then so let's try and get them to scrummage. Do you believe that ultimately overall that type of thing works?
Like I've a fairly strong opinions around this, right? So I think born not made. I think it's combo, right? I think if you look at the highest level, if you're drawing up a spec sheet for tight head prop, for example, you want to be between 5'10" and 6'3", right, and between 120 to 130 kilos, right. that's kind of your. And if you go over loose head, you want them to be like 5'10" to about 6'2", and about between 110 to 120 kilos. And those are kind of like the minimum standards I think you need to make it at the top level. And if you look at the props at the moment, I mean, you got some outliers. Antonio, but he's 6'4", but he's huge. Like he's like 150 kilos. But I see it now. Okay, so my son's in Michael's, right? And I've been going to a few school games. I think because the schools are dominating the production line at the moment, what happens is you get a slow flanker, right? Like you said, and he gets right when he's good around the park. So let's stick him into the scrum because it doesn't matter at schools level, right? If you go back a meter and a half, that's as bad as it can be, right? And then you get to senior level, and those guys are suddenly getting reamed out of it. So I think you need to give the fat lads a bit more love. Look at the guys who might not necessarily have, the all-court game that the school's game demands, but they're better suited to the adult game. They're better suited to when the scrums become full noise and, you can be pushed more than a meter and a half. So, Leinster ran this thing called Project 6'6" a while ago, trying to identify second rows. They should run another one, Project 20 Stone. So just get all the lads over 20 stone in the room and see who can make it. Because you can get a big lad fit, but if you're taking a kind of a flanker type body shape and trying to stick the muscle on them, that can be harder to do. So you can turn a big guy into an athlete. You don't know if you can turn an athlete to a big guy.
That's a good point. To answer your
I
question,
remember
Mary?
there was a just on that point Mike made. I remember there was a lad who played for Blackrock. He would have been there around the same time as Bod, and he went on that weight loss show. At the time, Jerry Ryan was doing it, but then Catherine Thomas started doing it. Not Fittest Family. I can't remember what it was called. And
Operation
after he appeared on that, Operation Transformation, he got 3 or 4 offers from AIL clubs. Would he be interested in coming down for training?
Yeah,
but that was before he lost anyway. So,
because lads fall through the cracks too,
Yeah. But Mike, I'm saying that I'm following on from Peter's question. You actually said a very good point to me. I actually only thought about it after you sent me the message about it. Life after Keane Healy.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, there's a few guys queuing up, right? I mean, I think they've been looking at Jack Boyle as the kind of the next soft cab off the line. Jeremy Lockman was there, but he's been injured for a while. On the loose head side, I mean, the thing is, and this is why they're trying to change Tom O'Toole, right, to loose head. There's guys in their 30s and there's guys in their early 20s. There's no one in the middle, in that part of it, right? So they're looking to try and put someone with a bit more experience in there, but it's not everyone can make the switch from tight to loose. It can be tight head is physically tougher, but loose head's more awkward, if you know what I mean. Because you're kind of you're scrummaging through one shoulder and you're naturally at an angle and you're kind of binding up like that, and it can be quite a bit of a contortionist position. Whereas I always thought tight head's a bit more comfy, and you've got someone on both shoulders, so something to lean on. But
funny enough, though, Mike, Reggie Corrigan said that a true prop it really doesn't come into his own until his late 20s. Would you agree with that?
I think that was certainly a case in the past. I think, though, that if you're looking at the age of props making their debuts now, they're getting younger and younger and younger. And I think now my brother was 25, 26, probably peak prop in years. But I don't know. I mean, depends on your rate of development yourself. So you're always learning, aren't you? So I finished up at 37. I still found new ways at that age to mess around.
And how do you now? I know you coach. Is it under 14s?
Effective under 14s, yeah.
Effective under 14s.
Yeah.
At that age group, I'm just interested. It just occurred to me. It just popped into my head when you were talking about it. How do at under 14s is that contact or is it not? I don't know.
Oh
It is
yeah,
contact.
yeah, it is. There's no lifting in the line out yet, but scrums are full noise. Well up to the metre and a half, right? But it's quite difficult coaching that age group in Dublin because we get pillaged by the schools. So this year
Right.
we had to merge with Lansdowne actually. So we have a Babas team we call BL Rugby, and it's been really good because we've got some excellent young players in there who aren't going to rugby playing school. So you need to have that outlet, and I've been really enjoying it. I must say, with the young
Yeah.
lads,
Yeah.
through it, and they've been going well. And my son, he's second year in Michael's, and which is why he's allowed to play from, because if he was third year in JCT, he wouldn't be allowed.
Right. Okay.
Am I right in saying, Mike, you went to a gas school in Fermoy?
Yeah, I went to St. Coleman's in Fermoy.
Sorry to hear that,
curling
Mike.
school.
Sorry to hear that.
I know. Well, it wasn't a sport that suited me, so I played for Fermoy Rugby Club growing up.
Okay. Peter Martin, before I come to you, actually, no, I'll ask you, Peter. Would you agree with Mike? Because you coach a similar age group, Pete, don't you?
Yeah, well, coach under 13s.
Okay.
And look, it's our first year in youth rugby, and look, scrums and lineouts don't matter really. It's a means to restart the game. It's just basically, obviously, like under 14, under 16s, we're told that's where it gets bloody serious. It's the closest thing to the men's game. But look, look, just as what Mike said, like it's a learning curve. That's basically that's what's happened with us anyway.
And actually, Peter and Mike, sorry, go on, Dara.
Can I just ask on a slight tangent? Do you think, the way in the Southern Hemisphere, especially in New Zealand now, I know they grow them big lads down there, but they go, rather than age categories, they go by weight categories. Because like you could have some 16-year-olds who have a beard like bloody Santa Claus and they're 6'3" and they're 110 kilos, and you put them in against normal 16-year-olds, who are maybe 80, 90 kilos, and they're just going to rampage all over them. Like,
we've all seen the YouTube videos of these huge kids, who are apparently under 16 running against, 4 foot nothing kids.
I think that's necessary down there because you have the Island boys. And the Island boys are the beef-breeded human race. Like they only almost come out with a beard, right? It's a bit rarer in here. I mean, like you still get enormous physical discrepancies. I mean, I don't know if you saw there's a couple of videos coming out of Herbie Boyle playing for Michael's.
Yeah.
But like the other lads catch up with him, So it's fine for now. I mean, like I don't think we have the same physical discrepancies that you get down New Zealand. Some Maori young fella running riot. I remember oh God, what's his name? Tongan Tor.
Tongan Tor.
Tupu, Daniel Tupu. So first time I saw him was a grainy video of him in school smash, just running through everyone. So but yeah, you still do it because yourself, 13 to 14 to 15. They all have different rates of physical development, so you do get mismatches. But I think it makes the guys better players because if they can put down that much, a fella that bit bigger than them, it stands to him going into the future. Whereas the guy who's maybe had it easy, just because he's bigger than everyone else, tends to get caught up on by the time they're 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, 100%. We had that problem last weekend. We're playing New Ross, and there was a guy who wore the 17 jersey. And he was easily Keane Healy's double, like, you know what I mean? It was just ridiculous, the size of him.
Yeah, look, but if they don't develop that, they found out later on.
Yeah, 100%.
Mike, on that, I'm just going to ask Mike because we'll be more to talk about, and we're of course half an hour in. Mike, my neighbour, he's a big GAA man, and he's sending his son to a school, but he won't send him to his son is coming off school age, but he won't send him to a rugby playing school because of all this head contact concussion thing. What your broad strokes on that particular fear, maybe, that some parents would have of their kids playing rugby, be it male or female?
Look, I think that we've never been in a better place head injury wise. Like when I was coming up through the ranks, I mean, like the treatment for concussion was smelling salts.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
or the magic sponge,
Yeah.
Mike, the magic sponge.
yeah, right. Now the player is off. The mandatory stand down. You know, I've seen it at an underage level. If a player gets concussion, there's a mandatory 6 week stand down. Can't play for 6 weeks. So the
Oh,
way we
okay.
treat and work with concussion is better than it's ever been. You know, and like you can get a head knock playing anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I coached a kid and he almost lost an eye playing soccer because the ball bounced into his eye some awkward way and he nearly lost the vision in it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's and you look, you play hurling and football. You can't tell me like a hurling ball, a sliotar doesn't travel a good whack. You know, or you know, playing hurling.
That's what I said to him, Mike. That's what I said to him. I said, you can get concussion playing football, heading the ball. You can,
Yeah.
a belt of a hurl or a Gaelic football. Like it, you can
but
get a concussion.
we're not helping ourselves either. By we're always, I mean, you know, we become red card hunters too. You know, that was head contact. That was head contact. Please, yeah, play that again really slowly and keep playing it. You know, I mean, it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And
know.
we've all
Okay.
become amateur detectives looking for it. You know.
True. Very true, Mike. Very true. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Dara. Thank you, Pete. Moving on. We have Bevan. I think they should look at Jordan Duggan. He's one who is falling through the cracks.
Well. Yeah, he's been going well for Connacht. Yeah, he's been going well. So we'll see how he goes.
Okay, Johan. Hi, Johan. Under 14 is very much contact. Under 15, all playing JCT. I played JCT, yes, myself in my school days. Played SCT as well. Bevan, I think they should look.
Did you win anything?
I didn't personally, but the school I went to won it in 83 and 85. Won the Senior Cup.
That recently? Jesus.
Yeah, that recently, yeah. But we've done nothing since.
I can't talk. Our school never got past the semi-finals, so you know it was like.
Yeah, okay. Joe Lyons, all sports has an element of risk. Very true, Joe. Heck, worst injuries I've had was when I took cycling up, coming off your bike doing 72 kilometers an hour off the Holt Summit, wearing nothing but lycra, doesn't end well. Jesus, Joe, I'd say yeah. Ooh, yeah, nasty. Okay, Mike, I want to ask you. We're moving on. I want to ask you, Mike, about this this idea that just won't seem to go away. Is that now? I believe there has been some developments in this, but this idea of having a Rugby World Cup in the area, Qatar, Saudi, over there. Do you think that is ever going to be a good idea? Now, apparently, this is for the 2035 Rugby World Cup. Apparently, Spain, much better idea, has thrown its hat into the ring for hosting. But Qatar, Saudi, all out of that neck of the woods. Mike, do you think that's ever a good idea?
I wouldn't be a massive fan of it, to be honest.
No.
I mean, one thing if they're hotbeds of an up and coming rugby, but do they even have rugby teams over there? I don't know. And like, you need to grow the game, right? I know that, but like, I mean, I always hated hot weather too, right? So, I mean, and you know, I wouldn't be in favor of it. And like, I know the rugby needs to grow commercially, and I know it's quite hard to turn down the money. I mean, like if golf couldn't manage to do it and give the money those lads make, you know, golf is quite solvent, right? You know, so you know it could be very difficult. But to be honest, I mean, like, why do they want it? You know, so.
But as you kind of hinted at there, Mike, it's money. If the Saudis throw, here's, I don't know, 30 million, have to work up here, and we'll pay a World Rugby or whatever it is. I don't know. Could that be? So are World Rugby that greedy?
I don't know if it's greedy or maybe it's necessity, right? Because you know, you look at the game in England, how that's going. You know, the other game in France is still held up by sugar daddies, right? So we don't have the same commercial revenues as soccer does. You know, I mean, it might just be too tempting, right? But then you'd hope that if they're going to do that, the money's used to develop the game in other areas. You know, I mean, like you know, Spain was mentioned. You know, that's quite a lot of potential there. I think. You know, you got Georgia, Romania. You know, a lot of places where rugby's kind of still a developing game, the tier 2 nations, so to speak, the tier 3s. Why don't Germany have a rugby team? You can't tell me there's no big boys in Germany.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd say that's probably similar to the South Africans. But okay, so Mike, if you were given a choice, I think we all know the answer. Saudi, neck of the woods, or Spain?
Oh, Spain. Yeah,
Spain, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dara Weston, I know you've been heavily critical of this, but it keeps raising its bloody head and won't go away. Your objection to a Rugby World Cup in the Saudi neck of the woods is what?
Well, for a start, lack of alcohol. For a second point, lack of any indigenous, not even indigenous, but lack of any rugby. There's not even I've mates who work for a Saudi company who go out there once every so often, for detoxes. There's not even expat rugby teams out there. Dubai, okay, they have a couple of expat teams and they have the sevens. Qatar, they have no connection with rugby at all, apart from Qatar Airways being sponsors in the URC, the official airline of the URC, and they have a load of stadiums left over from the Football World Cup that they need to use somehow. But the sad fact, as you said, is that Spanish have thrown their hat in the ring, but their hat has no money in it compared to the hat that's been thrown in by the Middle Eastern lads. And I'd say Bill Beaumont is raging because he won't get a cut off it now because he's gone. Would have got a nice extension on his bungalow with that money now. But yeah, it's what is it going to do? As Mike said, you've all these European countries. I'd rather see it hosted among the Pacific Islands. Now I know that logistically that'll be very hard, just with accommodation and all that kind of stuff, because they find it hard. They're really good rugby nations, but they don't have enough funding to actually keep all their players, so they bleed players to other international teams like the All Blacks or the Wallabies. And they have a professional team now going in Super Rugby, but you can be sure they need more money. And developing the sport definitely needs more money as well. So, yeah, look, I mean, most people in Europe go to Spain on their holidays anyway. So, we know they have the infrastructure there, the accommodation, all that. I think
they'd get the fans as well, Dara. The fans would
exactly.
travel.
Yeah. Like the French would drive across the border. Toulouse, it's an hour's drive to get to the French border.
Nice to play in the new camp too, wouldn't it?
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Imagine,
what's the capacity of the new camp? 100,000 or something?
108,000 or something like that.
108,000, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I think if it was played in the Middle East, it'd be half empty and it'd be soulless, because many fans are going to travel there for very little crack.
Yeah, I know.
Dubai, as I say, Dubai are they turn a blind eye to what tourists do when they're there, But as Mike said, it's like golf and also like Formula One. Saudi has its own Grand Prix. Qatar has its own Grand Prix. Spain used to have 2 Grand Prix years ago. They used to have Spanish Grand Prix and the European Grand Prix every second year. Now Spain are lucky to get 1 Grand Prix every year because it's money talks, unfortunately, now.
Yes. No, I agree. Yeah. Peter Martin, your thoughts on this before we finish up on this point and move on?
Look, I'm only just going to really just agree an awful lot of what Mike and Dara have said. Like Spain, even if it was a joint venture with the likes of Portugal, even like just to help, Portugal being the slightly stronger team, but Spain seem to be kind of picking up a bit of speed in development and that. But like it makes absolute sense. Like surely, all the 6 nations would basically throw their weight in behind, Spain and Portugal, prop it up some which way, votes and whatever if it came down to it. But again, unfortunately, money will play a big role in where it ultimately goes, because there's only so much there. Like we've seen the issues that the All Blacks have. Like what was it? Ineos have cancelled their contract, and we covered it previously on another show. Like, but financing the game remains an issue.
It would be brilliant crack if Spain and Portugal had it.
Oh my God, Mike, would you stop? Jesus Christ.
And you know what? Yeah. Throw France in as well. Throw the south of France in as well with it.
Yeah.
To add more credence.
Absolutely.
Because, it'd be the Basques and the Portuguese.
Jesus Christ,
and
lads!
it'd be like when we
I'm
had the
getting
World
excited.
Cup in Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales.
The
You know.
liver will be coming home in a body bag. Would you stop? Jesus Christ Almighty! Fucking hell. Right, okay, gents. Points, all points well made. Okay, now, Mike, because I know you work in the background of this, the teams appealing red cards. A lot of people have said to me, why do teams do it when the ref has given a red card or it's been a yellow card, it's been upgraded to a red card? The TMO has looked at it. He's looked at replays of it 15, 20 times. It is deemed a red card. The player is sent off now for this idiotic 20-minute red card rule that I don't think a lot of people don't agree with the 20-minute red card.
I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, okay. Go on. Before I ask you the question, go on. Tell me why. Go on.
Because what you can get a red card for has expanded massively, but the punishment has stayed the same. Right? Because when I was coming up, a red card was for knocking someone out or gouging or, filth. And now you can get a red card for mistimed tackle. So the punishment shouldn't be the same. I think, like I said, I work as a judicial officer, right? Well, let's go to what you asked first. Why did they appeal the red card? Because sometimes the refs get it wrong. Sometimes they get it wrong.
And the TMO?
Yeah, and the TMO, yeah. Sometimes, because they did it on the day, right? If you're talking about the Munster red card, it was on the day, it was on the screen. They didn't have a huge amount of time to look at it. Okay? They had a bit of time to look at it. But then, maybe there's an angle you haven't seen, right? I mean, I've seen some suggestions it was actually a stray knee that caught him. If we're talking about, Cian Prendergast getting knocked out, and yeah, like that's why they do it because, and to me, I thought maybe his head dipped down slightly at the last minute, right? So there could have been a bit of mitigation there, right? And I think they get 2 weeks.
I don't actually know, Michael. I don't actually know.
So
he misses La Rochelle anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, Nankerville.
Yeah. Right. So I think it's a tough one, right? Because we all want to be a safer game, right? But I mean, why is red card the only tool we really have for it?
What would you suggest then? What would you suggest?
I don't know. I mean, I think the 20-minute red card's a step in the right direction. Team still gets punished quite badly, because 20 minutes without a player is no joke. Okay, the player still gets banned, but it preserves the spectacle for the fans.
Is it not though, Mike? Is it not? You see, this is one of the things. I've spoken to several rugby fans. Some are in your camp, Mike. They like the 20-minute red card. I don't particularly like it, so we can agree to disagree on that. But the whole idea is that if a player is yellow, it's rare these days. Now, I think we saw one there recently that you get a straight red, right? You normally get the yellow card and the ref does this, bunker review, off you go, and then 10, 15 minutes later you hear it's been,
upgraded or not.
Upgraded or not. Exactly, right? Yeah. So if it's been upgraded to a red card, then so the player's off for the 20 minutes, grand. Okay. Then the team then can appeal the red card. Mm-hmm. And you sit on that the
judicial officer,
the judicial officer. Okay.
Yeah.
So the point that was made to me was, and I'm trying to explain it now in the question, is that if it's been looked at already, if the ref has thought, now albeit the ref is could be blindsided, as you said, Mike, fair enough.
Yeah.
The TMO has about 4 or 5 different angles to look at this, and he has decided, or she has decided, that yes, it's definitely a red card. If it's definitely a red card, why then does the team, is the team allowed to appeal it if it's been looked at by all the angles the TMO has had?
You always have the right of appeal. Like most times they don't exercise that right. Right? Clearly they felt there were some mitigating factors in this case. I mean, but 90% of the time they don't appeal the red card. They only appeal the red card if they feel there's something that wasn't taken into consideration or there was something missed. Most of the hearings I'm sitting on, they accepted the red card, and now, you're looking at what are the mitigating circumstances, because there's a framework you follow, and I got involved with it because I'd say like many of the judicial officers were lawyers, right? And I have nothing against lawyers, but you need to have some bit of lived experience of actually playing on the pitch. And
Yes.
like, yeah, the thing is, like, people don't realize how quickly stuff happens on the rugby pitch, right? It happens. Like, take Nankerville at the weekend, right? He didn't see where Prendergast's head was. All he saw, there was a shape of a ruck. There's a player there. I have to go in as hard as I can and hit him as hard as I can. And why do I have to hit him as hard as I can? Because if I don't, he's going to take the ball, right? And I can't go, well, there's a high degree of danger or it's reckless. Rugby's a reckless sport, right? You're not playing rugby if you're full of wreck, right? So, like, it happens so quick. It happens like that, okay? And like if you really want to be strict on reducing head injuries, take the jackal out of it, right?
I saw that. Someone,
off the
Nigel Owens made it. Sorry, Peter, go ahead.
No, go on, Derek. Go on.
Nigel Owens made a good point. He had one of those audience things 2 weeks ago in National Concert Hall, and he said, refs are relying too much now on the reviews, and just giving yellows. He said there is a place for the 20-minute red where it's accidental, but he said if it's malicious, he said the ref should have no hesitation in just going straight red. Yeah, and he said unfortunately, what's happening now is you're getting everything is literally being sent for review.
But we rarely see a straight red. Sorry, go on, Mike.
Yeah. I don't mind that, but like a straight red is usually obvious. If I punch you, that's obvious, right? Yeah. If I elbow you or stick my fingers in your eyes, that's usually pretty obvious, and it should be like. But I like the bunker review because it takes the pressure off the referees, and the referees aren't getting slandered on social media or wherever from it because they didn't make the decision. They just gave a yellow. It's the faceless man in the bunker who had 20 minutes in a nice air-conditioned room to make the decision, and without thousands of screaming fans going boo every time it comes up. So I'm a fan of it. I think it takes a lot of the pressure off the referees, and it puts the onus onto the guy who actually has time to go through it and review it. So I probably disagree with Nigel on that, but like. I think any ref can give a straight red card for malicious or foul play. That's easy enough to spot. But it's like take an example. So remember Leinster played Connacht down the sports ground, and Bundy Aki hit Andrew Osborne so hard that his granddad felt it, right?
Yeah.
There was this much away from being a red card. But like. Here it's fine. Here not so much.
So sorry, Mike. I was going to ask you because I'm interested in this genuinely. I presume when you're on a judicial review, I presume you're looking at the play backwards and forwards, and you from a player are saying, "Well, actually, I did something like that myself, and it wasn't really. It was actually I did it accidentally, so I can see where he's coming from." Whereas if another judicial reviewer has never played the game. As you touched on earlier, lived experience. Yeah, they're just a legal person, and they say, "Oh no, that's head contact. No, he need him in the head there. No, that's a red." So how does all that work? How do you come to your decision?
Well, you're usually trying to have an ex-player on the panel to balance it out, right? Or they all would have rugby experience, but like I've explained to him sometimes. Well, why didn't he just not hit the ruck? I said. Because he didn't know he was going to make head contact, and if he decided not to hit the ruck, he's not getting picked next week.
Right. Okay.
I mean, because there's because he can't choose not to hit the ruck because he can't see the future, but you can predict absolutely that if you don't hit that ruck,
it's a turnover.
Why didn't you hit that ruck, Mike? I thought it was a bit dangerous. Guess what? You're not playing this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's tough, right? Because like if you look at what the KPIs, let's call them in rugby are around tackling. You're taught to knock a guy backwards. You're penalised for making what's called a soak tackle, which is when you don't knock the guy backwards or the guy makes yards. So what's the best way of knocking a guy backwards? Well, it's hitting him up around the chest, and you target the ball. So if you look at what's rewarded in rugby, that's what kind of drives the behaviours.
So, okay, so there's got to be an element of blame then on the coaching staff. If what you're saying is, well,
I don't know if it's blame or something, because like,
well,
I mean, like, you're always taught hit the man ball and wrap and then drive the legs and knock him backwards.
hit
Okay,
the
now
ruck, try the jackal, and then whatever.
you try, delete that guy from the ruck. Okay, because everyone's so big and strong that if you don't go in as hard as you can, you're not going to shift them. You just won't.
Mike,
Like,
would you
why did the crocodile roll come in the first place? Because it was
A clear out.
It was an easier way of moving the fell from the rock.
Yeah,
A clear out. Yeah. No,
And
go on, Pete.
what?
Sorry,
Go on, sorry.
no, I was just
No,
going to
go on,
say.
Or Pete, go on, whoever.
Sorry, I was just going to say then. You've hinted it already, Mike. Would you be in favour of going back to the old-fashioned rucking back in the 90s, where basically, this was something
Carnage.
that Stone Lenihan had raised back against the head. Where if you're at the bottom of ruck, you're onside. If you get studs in the head, well, you shouldn't be there.
It was one of the funniest things I saw. Right, Munster were playing Leinster, and Stephen Archer did exactly that to James Ryan. Gave him a bit of shoe pie, or pained iron price, or whatever you want to call it. Right, and he was like, James Ryan was so outraged by it, but I was just giggling away. Look, it's tempting, but I mean, like, players already get penalised for rolling out the back of the ruck if you're not rolling. The referees are quite hot on lads not rolling out the back of the ruck.
They are actually, yeah.
So,
Okay.
the first beer my lad ever gave me was when I came back from a match and I had stud marks all down my back, and he gave me a can of heart because he was proud of me.
Exactly,
I had something similar.
I kind of felt punished at the time because it was harp. But anyway,
I know. Okay, just some comments coming in, gents, while we were talking there. Joe Lyons, Argentina, Chile. This is obviously going back to what we were talking about previously.
Yeah.
Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, South Africa, only continent that hasn't held it, and these countries have all got to a World Cup playoff off their own back. Sorry. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Bevan Marie, worst idea ever. I don't get why Wales and Scotland don't just let Ireland do it. The World Cup you're talking about, Bev? Sorry. They need to rip up that contract that said they have to do it together. Ireland has some good stadiums included. Yeah, I don't think we have a full infrastructure, Bev, really to hold a Rugby World Cup. To be honest with you, transport, etc., infrastructure for that. Mike Sheedy. Fans would be in danger. Also, women boycott. That's for Qatar. Yep. Okay. Bevan Marie Gregor agrees. Gregor, go away. Not a fan, to be honest, of the bunker upgrading it or not. Okay. Brian Core again on this. Why can't the bunker review happen to all cards? Are they protecting the ref too much by saying his decision can't be overturned? I don't know. Mike, whatever you think about that. I don't know what you...
Look, you have to stick by the ref's decision, but after the game, there is a process and exists for a reason.
Yeah. Kieran Ryan, evening boys. Rugby is a contact sport. Nankiville red card was harsh. It's an accident that happens on the field. Day is coming. Players will not be allowed to go into the collision. Mike, that is exactly what you were saying.
Sorry, Peter. I think you missed a comment from some guy called James.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm not. Yeah. Very funny. Yes. Okay. Okay. Briefly, before we go on to win, lose, or draw for next weekend's games, Mike, Jack Crowley's contract negotiations. Why are they delayed so much, and what is it going on in the background with agents? What's the process there that you understand it?
His agent is trying to get the best possible deal for his client. That's all it is. But like, here's the thing, right? I mean, you're only worth what the market says you're worth, right? You can think that, I'm worth 300,000-400,000, but unless you get an offer for that amount, you're not worth it. So his agent is probably shopping around trying to get him the best possible deal to use his leverage, which is his job. And I'd be amazed if he didn't have a bit of interest. And like, I doubt very much it was a 750k figure that was touted around, because that's the kind of money you pay for, Pollard, who's a twice World Cup winning from out half with a great kicking percentage. But he probably definitely has some interest in France, and he definitely has it from interest from other clubs. But but don't forget the English and the French are wary of us too, because they know it's very hard to get an Irishman out of Ireland. So sometimes they know they're being used as a stalking horse or a pencil sharpener, so they won't really engage.
Do you think, Mike, there's also an element of the longer they keep it going, the more likely, like when Dennis O'Brien topped up Sexton's contract when he came back from France, that maybe like a JP McManus figure or somebody will come in and go, look here, I'll add a bit on top of that.
Yeah, you never know.
The deal.
You never know.
Yeah.
I never had a billionaire topping up my contract, so I don't know how.
Mike, I would have. You should have given me a shout when you were playing. I would have done that for you. Giving you an extra 10 quid a week or something like that. Just to
no problem.
Six-pack of
crowdsource it.
Crowdsource, yeah. Go for me, yeah. Okay, Peter Martin, your thoughts on this? Just briefly before we go on to win, lose, or draw. The Jack Crowley, is it just? As Mike said, it's just his agent doing his job, and although the Leicester offer was never denied.
Look, no, it's just it's what Mike and Dara said is an agent is there just flying the kite and trying to get as much as he can, trying to get leverage out of it. Who knows? Might see Crowley doing some kind of ads for showers or something. You don't know. You just don't know. Like there's something there. Like he's young, he's very marketable, very talented. It'll all come out in the wash. We'll see his face on TV for promoting some sort of whatever health product or whatever.
Right.
He could get. Now that Conor Murray's gone, he could get his laser hair removal endorsement.
Sorry, Mike. What were you going to say there?
Just as long as it's not another Mace ad,
Oh, Mace.
Jesus Christ.
The best one, Wavin Pipe, Dennis Hickey.
Wavin Pipe, yeah, I remember.
Yes.
I still think Donegal O'Callaghan's Triton Showers ad are up there.
Wash the glory. Flipping hell.
And then apparently there was always the rumor that was Purcell wanted to get the claw, and they wanted to have, the claw smiling like Father Jack when he's running through the fields with the children, and it was basically like Purcell tackles even the dirtiest problems. And Arnie the IRF were like, no, absolutely not. You're not having that.
Cancel culture right there. Okay, gentlemen, we are on to our last subject, which is win, lose, or draw for the games coming up next weekend. Who's winning, who's losing, who's drawing? Peter Martin, you're first up. Leinster entertaining Harlequins in Croke Park.
I think it'll be a straightforward enough kind of win for Leinster, to be honest. Harlequins got their arses handed them by Bath last weekend. Your favourite player was front centre and ran the show in that win. Peter.
Don't really want to talk about it. Finn Russell is not on my radar.
It wasn't like, and it's not as if it was, Quins were resting players. Like they had their front liners out. Like they seemed to be pretty much locked and loaded, fully as strong a team as they could put out. And Bath emptied them. 50 something, 20 something was double scores.
I saw the score.
An absolute tonkin. So
Luke Conway agrees with you. Hi, Luke. I hope Leinster win on Saturday. I can't wait to see Sam versus Marcus Smith. Okay. All right, Pete. Second one. These are all in order as they're happening. La Rochelle are entertaining Munster.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. If Pom's back and fit and firing and winding everybody up, he adds that extra 1% anyway to that Munster pack. I was sneaking suspicion Munster will be, to use that old adage that George Hook used, greater than the sum of their parts, and I think they'll nick a famous win away. Might be by 3 points, but I think they'll do it. Rogers openly admitted La Rochelle are they're playing like drains at the moment, and he's kind of admitted that it's a coaching crisis for him. So,
they're 11th or 12th, Pete, in the top 14.
Yeah, they're close now. I think it's slightly skewed. I haven't looked at it, but Bumbo would have read. Even though their position is not bad, they're closer to relegation than they are to the top. I can't remember the exact way it is, but that's what I've read. So,
okay. Okay, Pete. Next, Connacht are entertaining Cardiff in the sports ground.
Look, we'll just go with the boys in green out west.
Okay. And finally, Bordeaux are entertaining Ulster.
Oh God, thoughts and prayers for Ulster.
I think so. Yes.
I think that's all there is to be said. I think Bordeaux can absolutely put a shed load on them.
Yeah, I just see. Okay, Dara, before I come to you, just Gregor Galway, Leinster to slay Quins. Okay. James, does the host have a bad hairline? Take the hat off. No, this is what I always wear. And yes, I do have a bad hairline. Like always.
He also has bad eyes, but he won't wear his reading glasses.
You know why I can't wear my glasses? Because the glare off the screen. Mike Sheedy.
Drinks Heineken as well.
Like always, Munster a win. Munster have a good few players back too. They do indeed. Okay, Dara Weston, to you. Leinster entertaining Quins.
Are the women on a break this weekend? The Women's Six Nations.
They are. Yes, they are. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's grand.
I think
Leinster. Come on, Cian Healy, only man ever to lift five cups with one club, and then he'll go down to New Zealand and win the Super League as well.
Yeah.
Next season.
Mike Ross. Mike Ross is their front row partner there. La Rochelle against Munster.
As you know, I'm contractually obliged to always say Munster. However, as my wife is from Cork, I get the feeling she wouldn't be overly disappointed if Rog managed to beat them. But you know, it's I'd be wary of Rog because like they're on a hiding to nothing in the top 14. They're 10th. So I mean, 10th. You know, really all they can do to recover the season is pull something out in Europe. And you know, if anybody can hype them up for a Europe game, it'll be him. So,
and what jersey are the Munster fans going to wear? Munster or La Rochelle?
Well, the Cork people are really the only ones that have two jerseys.
Fair enough. Okay,
well, sorry, I don't mean to include you in this, Mike. Certain parts of Cork, anyway. So,
right. Okay. Okay. Connacht against Cardiff, Dara.
Jesus, I'd have to go for Connacht in the showgrounds. I mean, I think they could have actually beaten Munster had they not been playing in Mayo, because we know Mayo can't win anything. So, you know.
Oh, that's true. Okay, and lastly, Bordeaux are entertaining Ulster. Would you agree with Peter Martin that it's thoughts and prayers for Ulster?
Yeah, I think, family only. I think it's, I think Bordeaux are just too strong.
Okay.
I mean, you never know. They could field unlikely because it's at home in Bordeaux, but you know, they could focus on the top 14 and field a second string squad. But
yeah,
that's the only hope Ulster would have.
Okay, and lastly, Mike Ross, you are the last voice on the show this evening. Your win, lose, or draw. We have Leinster in Croke Park entertaining Harlequins.
Yeah, but two of my old clubs playing each other.
Two of your old clubs, indeed. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be Leinster, and then I fancy Munster to knock over La Rochelle. It'd be the most Munster thing to do, wouldn't it?
I don't. Yeah, but okay. Yeah, all right. You're going for a Munster win. Okay, Connacht against Cardiff, Mike.
I think Connacht. Cardiff playing a good brand of rugby though, so I wouldn't be utterly amazed if they came away with something there. And yeah, I think Bordeaux. They'll be one of the favourites for the trophy. You know, although I don't think Penno and Billy Barry are playing. Are they here? Or Jalabert and Billy Barry?
Jalabert.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think they still have too much for Ulster. Ulster kind of in a rebuilding. They're in a rebuilding phase at the moment. There's some good young players, but you know, hopefully, it just won't be as bad as the lose result.
Okay, Mike Ross, Bordeaux. Okay. All right. Okay, gentlemen, that is all we have time for. We have gone over time as always. My thanks are to Peter Martin, Dara Weston, and of course our special guest, Mike Ross. Mike, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and to hear your wisdom and your experience and your opinion about the game and the subjects that we spoke about this evening. Mike, Ross, Dara, Weston, Peter Martin, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, gents, and we do it all again very soon. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care. Thanks, Mike.
Right
Cheers,
on.
lads. Have a good one.
Cheers, buddy. Good luck. Take care.
Bye.